Hey, Care Partners, Teresa Youngstrom with Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. Thanks for coming back. So excited to see you today. If you're new here, well, I'm a seasoned registered nurse who realized she didn't know enough about dementia to take care of her own mother, even though I'd been a nurse more than 3 decades. So, and yep, I got kicked out of the house too. So if that happened to you, well, it's okay. You know what? I had a lot of learning to do, and now I'm here to teach you some of the mistakes I've made, and hopefully they'll resonate with you and the care you're giving. Whether you're caring for a loved one, or maybe you run a memory care, or maybe you're working in a caregiver community and private duty company or something along those lines. I just think everybody needs to be trained in better dementia care, better memory care. It certainly has helped me in so many ways. And it was a decade of decline with my mom. And we did finally learn how to keep the peace with her. And I have to tell you, there wasn't peace for a season in there. And that's what really, whew, that kicked me into figuring this out. And once I got kicked out of the house, that was like, okay, I'm going to leave this big job. I have got to figure out how to care for her because something is wrong here. I'm obviously making the mistakes and not understanding why she does what she does. And then I'm not joining her on the journey. I'm obviously being part of the problem. So I went to train with Teepa Snow, and some of you have heard of Teepa Snow. She's incredible. She's out of North Carolina, but she's internationally known now, and she's amazing. Definitely one of my mentors. And so I went to train with Teepa, and she taught me so many things. And she did teach me how to reestablish keeping the peace with these people. And so I want to talk to you today about some of the, techniques that might help you learn how to keep the peace, or at least get the peace back. And so something to be aware of is that if you come in acting like you're the caregiver and you're dominating this person, right? And I'll tell you what to do and finger wagging, just so you know, it's not going to go well, especially if that's one of your parents or spouse, because they're not used to taking instructions like they're a child from you. And so we have to be very careful and remember that the relationship's the most important thing. We need to be kind and we need to be respectful. And then how can you how can you practice ways to come alongside and get on their team? Well, I think one way is to not be superior in this, to not act like you're, the instructor here. But I remember trying to help a woman feel comfortable in her new retirement community. And between you and me, it was a memory care, but we didn't tell her that. She thought it was just a retirement community. And so I went to visit. She'd been there a few days, and you know what? She was a little put off by the activities of some of the other people. And maybe I shouldn't say activities, maybe some of the actions and, just hearing the noises and the sounds that she was hearing. It scared her a little bit, honestly. She was in her early 80s and still ambulatory, still good at a lot of things. But so we went for a tour and a walk around her unit, and I was arm in arm with her. And I'll never forget, down at the end of the hall, there was a little scuffle going on actually with a couple of people, and their help intervened and got everything okay. And I turned her a different way, and we're talking. And I said to her, it's a good thing we have all our marbles still. And she just squeezed me and said, I know. And so for me to kind of just give her that compliment that, we're okay. We're okay. And so, what can you do in your activities of daily living with these individuals to not be their instructor, not to be their boss, not to be the caregiver? My goodness. But how can you come alongside and care for them as if, you guys are on the same team and you're on the same level playing field? Can you do things like that to make them feel that they're just a teammate and you're both figuring this out together? So I love just being a teammate, not being a superior. And maybe some other examples would be if they're asking, gosh, this remote, it's making me crazy. TV remotes are a huge source of aggravation for a lot of us, even without dementia. Just saying, but those are if they get a new TV, that is so tough. And I mean, they want to throw that thing across the room, and sometimes I do. But I can tell you that if they're having trouble with it for you to get on their team and say, "Oh my word, this thing drives me crazy. I mean, let me have a look and see if I can figure it out because you're better at this than I am." And to be able to then love them through that without making them feel stupid or less than or that they can't figure things out. Trust me, it'll help your relationship so much. Instead of saying, "Give me that. How many times do I have to tell you? My goodness, you push this and you push that. Why can't you do this?" Okay. If that's happening in your situation, it's time to hit the pause button and take a deep breath. We got to get ourselves right, don't we, before we interact with this person who's already got brain failure. I mean, guys, consider the fact that they're doing the best they can with what they have left. And if you create more anxiety in their life or, more stress or finger wag them down, oh my goodness, you are really, you're picking a fight. Those are fighting words. At least it was with my mom. Those are fighting words. I would get kicked out of the house. And I don't want to see that happen for you. And so I wouldn't focus on the fact that they're forgetful. I would just try and join them on the journey. And what if you actually made yourself feel forgetful too? Um, and so if they're always asking, when are we leaving? When are we doing this? When do we have to do? Instead of you saying, how many times do I have to tell you? My gosh, and being condescending, being the boss, being the parent. I don't want you to be like that. But if you join them there and with something like, I know I can't keep track of anything anymore. Do you know I have to write everything down? And just to join them and quit fighting with them. Okay? Join them on that journey. Look at the situation, hit the pause button, and see if there's some way you can make yourself as forgetful as they are. And then think about ways that we can implement things to maybe help them remember early on. Do you have a great big calendar on the wall? Something big that they can see the writing? Maybe we put their appointments on that big calendar. For some people, we need to have an erasable board, and every day we put maybe what they're going to have for breakfast, what they're going to do in the morning. Maybe they live at a place and there's activities, or maybe there's someone coming in to do activities, or maybe it's just that they want to watch Wheel of Fortune in the morning. Okay. And so just to be able to put their activities in there, maybe when the nap is, maybe when lunchtime, dinner, and just if there are any appointments in there, who's coming over to visit, things like that. So maybe we implement tools like that to help them. Or maybe they're forever losing something. Maybe they're always losing maybe they're losing the remote, but maybe they're losing the car keys or something like that. So for you to be able to join them there and say, "Oh my goodness, I cannot keep track of these car keys." And maybe that's not even true. Maybe you're excellent with the car keys and maybe you always put them in the same spot. I have a same spot. The thing about cars today, they start with the key in your purse. So you don't even have to take it out most of the time, as long as you don't change purses, right? But for us ladies, but for me to say, "Oh my goodness, I cannot keep track of these keys," and just to be able to join them on the journey. I don't want you to remind them that they're losing their skills, and you got to take the words, remember this or why can't you remember that? Those are all fighting words. And so we need to eliminate those from our vocabulary when we're caring for these people because you don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't want to make them feel less than. And for those people that don't have awareness, I've done several podcasts on this. Some folks, they realize they are forgetful and they're tired, they're scared, they're sad, they're tearful, maybe they're clingy. And then you got the people that don't have awareness. Get out of my blankety blank house. I'm a millionaire and I don't need you because they can't see the disease. They're paranoid and suspicious. You come at them finger wagging and saying, "Why can't you?" Oh my goodness, guys. Relationship. Boom, baby. They remember how you make them feel. Write that down. They're not going to remember all the words you use if they have a true dementia. But boy, do they remember how you make them feel. And so, are you using words that are building the relationship or damaging it? Putting the wedge in there. And so, depending on if they have awareness or don't have awareness when you come in, it's going to determine how you respond. But I also think that you being a little forgetful yourself, when she's asking where something is very helpful. You joining them there on that journey. Okay. And you using tools to jog your own memory, and maybe that'll jog their memory too. But you just have to make sure it's not in a condescending way. Okay. The other tool that I want to share with you today is that there will be times when they no longer can do something, or maybe they have to do something that they do not want to do. Whether it's going to a doctor's appointment, maybe it is getting some testing done, maybe it's not driving anymore, maybe it's that we have to have caregivers or we need to go to assisted living, something along those lines. And if you're the bad guy in that, that again can build a wedge in there. Now, I've had families who have divided, and, the daughter becomes the bad cop and the son became the good cop. Not a good idea, guys. Not a good idea. So she would be the one to take away the car, and he's the one taking her out to dinner. So I wouldn't play games like that, but what you could do is when she wants to drive, you could say, "Oh, wait, wait a minute, mom. I was thinking that Dr. Brown Wait a minute, Dr. Brown had some advice on that. Let me see what he wrote something down. We put it on the refrigerator because I can't remember anything. Let's go check." And there's going to be a prescription that maybe you wrote, maybe Dr. Brown wrote, but we're not using it for a prescription. But it is a note with a signature that says, Mrs. Smith is advised to no longer get behind the wheel of a car, and should be assisted by her family members or, some type of service. And then you're like, "Oh, yep, that was the case. So, mom, Dr. Brown doesn't want you driving anymore, but you know what?" And you can join them emotionally. If they're frustrated, I want you to be as frustrated as they are. Okay. So join them emotionally, validate if they're upset, I want you to validate that, because that's the only way to really de escalate their anger is to say, "Ah, I know, you know what? This is going to happen to me too. I just know it. Maybe next time I see you, Dr. Brown, but for now, I can still take you, and we can get Bob and Joe and they can drive you too. So we'll get you where you want to go. I know this is so frustrating." And, even though you understand why she shouldn't be driving, to still validate it, be on her team, and let her feel like she's still okay. This is happening, and you really do feel bad that it's happening, and it's going to happen to you too. You're joining them on the journey. That would be a much better way than for you to say, "Are you kidding me? Did you see all the dents in the car door? My gosh, we're lucky that that mirror was still hanging on the side of the car." Oh gosh, guys, I've heard stuff like that, and they're just fighting words, and it doesn't help them. It's brain failure. And can we love them through this brain failure, through those hard times? Not by being condescending, not by being their parent, not with the finger wagging and threatening and the condescending attitude. Those are not good ways to care for somebody that has brain failure. And it certainly would not be the way to keep the peace in that relationship. And so I want to make sure the other thing is don't remind them that you're fighting. This happened several times where the situation was handled wrong. The caregiver handled it wrong. She did raise her voice and upset the resident, and she left the resident in a huff. And then an hour had gone by, and the call light went on, and the caregiver comes back with kind of hands on the hips, kind of like, "Now what do you want?" With a little bit of attitude. And the resident had forgotten that there had been any words said at that moment. She was good again. But then what do you think happened? Oh yeah, we just opened that whole can of worms again, and she was mad and kicked her out of the room, and "Don't you come back either." Okay. So we dug that wedge a little bit bigger. So there are great techniques to be able to love these people when we're having challenges, when decisions need to be made to not drive, to to get, a particular maybe they need a spinal tap or a PET scan or something they don't want to do, and to be able to help them to join them on the journey to see if we can get them to do those things that they don't want to do. For you to be as forgetful yourself, for you to be a teammate and not an instructor, and for you just to love them through that as if we're in this together. Thank goodness we still got all our marbles, and it was the cutest thing that day when when I squeezed that woman's arm and leaned into her and told her that, because she was watching a situation of a couple of people who were not doing well, and it frightened her. And then when I told her it's a good thing we have our marbles, she smiled real big and said, I know. And we turned a different direction and walked away. And so I hope that you can utilize some tools in order to keep the peace with your loved one. Because we're not really there to dominate. We're not really, and honestly, guys, this is not, a 3-month pancreatic cancer type situation. This is a journey, and this can take months, years. If the other parts of their body are healthy, and they don't have many comorbidities or other diagnoses that would take them sooner, like, diabetes, heart disease, a cancer, something like that. This could be a long time. And so how we love them and join them on the journey and have relationship with them is vitally important, that you are part of the solution and not part of the problem. So just remember, there are tips to helping to keep the peace. I hope that you are following this podcast, Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. There's a lot of great information in there. We have more than 20 podcasts available for you now. We're on Spotify, YouTube. They're coming out on the Facebook page, the LinkedIn page. They're coming out. Well, now we're putting them on the website at teresayoungstrom.com. We just want to make it as simple as possible for you to find this information and share with your loved ones when there's a topic that they're searching for information. So you'll find a variety of titles. But today we're talking about how do we keep the peace with this individual especially when hard things come up and challenges come up. And we want to be part of the solution and, Lord knows, not part of the problem. Okay. Because it's always a choice. It's always a choice. Are you going to go with the flow and keep the peace, or are you going to drive a stake in the ground to make your point? Ugh, I know what I'm going to choose. Okay, guys, that's it for today from Teresa Youngstrom. Just remember, you got this.